Luke chapter 10, I'm going to start reading at verse 25, and we're going to verse 37. Luke chapter 10, start reading at verse 25. Thank you, Jesus. And behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tempted him, saying, Master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said unto him, What is written in the law, how readest thou? And he answering said, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. And he said unto him, Thou hast answered right, do this, and thou shalt live. But he, willing to justify himself, said unto Jesus, And who is my neighbor? Jesus answering said, A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment, and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. And by chance there came down a certain priest that way, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Somebody say the other side. And likewise a Levite, when he was at the place, came and looked on him, and passed by on the other side. Say on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him, and went to him, bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And on the morrow when he departed, he took out of 2 pence, and gave them to the host, and said unto him, Take care of him, and whatsoever thou spendest more, when I come again, I will repay thee. Which now of these 3 thinkest thou was neighbor unto him that fell among thieves? And he said, He that showed mercy on him. Then said Jesus unto him, Go and do thou likewise. Then said Jesus unto him, Go and do thou likewise. I want to talk from the subject matter, won't you be my neighbor? Look at somebody before you be seated and say, Won't you be my neighbor? You may be seated. I got 20 minutes and I'm going to my seat. Pastor Cody, Won't You Be My Neighbor is a 2018 American documentary film about the life and guiding philosophy of Fred Rogers, the host and creator of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You're dating yourself. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, directed by Morgan Neville. The trailer for the film debuted on what would have been Rogers' 90th birthday, March 20, 2018. You remember back in the day, the show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And you remember him coming into the house and taking off his jacket and putting on a sweater, taking off his shoes and putting on some gym shoes, and being in a more relaxed posture in order to demonstrate some neighborly conduct. But I want to examine today not the show, but the title, Won't You Be My Neighbor? When we examine the title, the challenge for me is in the intentional wording. When I look at the wording, I would have said, Will you be my neighbor? But the subject is, Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you? The expectation and the anticipation is negative from the outset. It does not say, Will you be my neighbor in question form. It says, Will you not be my neighbor, to suggest that you are already contrary to neighborly conduct. It suggests that rejection is expected and abandonment is anticipated. The question begs, the statement begs the question, when I'm in trouble, can I depend on you to be my neighbor? When I fall into dangerous situations and challenging circumstances, who can I depend on? I got a lot of people around me. I got a lot of people cheering me when I'm on high. I got a lot of people celebrating me when I got something. But when I'm down and out, when I'm in a low place, won't you be my neighbor? Therefore, we must convince neighborly conduct does not necessarily come natural. Because the truth of the matter is, regardless of how many classes of people you have in your life, you will need a neighbor at some point. Yeah. Regardless of how many classes you have friends who are connected by commitment and camaraderie. We love friends. You have relatives who are connected by blood. They're chosen but unchosen. I didn't choose my relatives. They were chosen for me. And then we have associates who are connected by events and places. But look at your neighbor and ask, won't you be my neighbor? Can I depend on you to be there for me? Our text finds Jesus being challenged. He's being challenged. I love our Jesus because our Jesus is always being challenged. There's somebody that thinks they're smarter, they got a new way, a better way. They want to trip him up. They're still trying to trip Christianity up. They're still trying to make it inaccurate. They're still trying to make it inauthentic. They're still trying to poke holes in our Bible and poke holes in our faith. They're still trying to get us to mentally disregard what we've accepted by faith. They're still trying to disprove that they came through the Red Sea. They're still trying to disprove that there was ever a Noah's Ark. They're still trying to disprove. And the harder they work to disprove, the more they end up proving. Because what I love about our Jesus, and you ain't got to say nothing, what I love about our Jesus is he always comes through. I love it. 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 I know that there are 12 classical religions of the world, and only one of them really focuses on a Jesus. But what I love about this Jesus, this Messiah, what I love about this Yeshua, what I love about this Master and soon coming King, what I love about this Lord of Lords, what I love about him is he always finds a way to come through. He always has an answer. He always has a resolve. It may not come when you want him, but he's always. I ain't got no church in here with me today. They're challenging kingdom theology. They've been protecting what they've had for so long that they're unwilling to receive what he's giving them. You know, you can get stuck protecting what you've had because you fear you'll never have anything else. And while you protect what you've had, you'll reject what's coming. Some of us right now are rejecting what's coming. You've been praying for a breakthrough and the breakthrough shows up, but you're so busy protecting your sanity and you're so busy protecting your fears and you're so busy protecting what you're going through that you're afraid to open up to something new. But tell your neighbor, I got news for you. New has to invade your life. If you're going to go any further, you've got to have something new. You got to be willing to have new friends. Ain't nobody in here. You've got to be willing to have new money. Ain't nobody in here. You've got to be willing to have new ideas. Ain't nobody in here. You've got to be willing to have a new attitude. If you do what you've always done, you'll have what you've always had. And insanity is to do what you've always done and expect something different. You've got to be willing to step out into new. You've got to step out into new territory. Stop saying what you don't do. Stop saying who you are not and be willing to try something new. I'm not talking about sin. I'm talking about trying something outside of your own box. Talking about trying something like walking on water. Not because I have proven that I can, but because he told me I could. Try stepping out on what God says. Here's the hard part about Peter. He stepped out on what God said and he sunk. That'll mess your mind up. To step out on what he said and sink in it. But you're forgetting he didn't drown. The same one that told him to come raised him up and let him walk back to the boat on the water. You will accomplish the miracle, but the direction is up to you. You're either going to accomplish it going about what you're going for, or you're going to accomplish it going back to your comfort zone. He walked on water going back to the boat. Let's go. The parable we've heard and read has two, as we've heard it and read it, this parable has two bad people and one good person. I've heard it preached several times that the priest and the Levite left him hanging, and the Samaritan picked him up. So we have two bad people and one good person. I got a problem with that. I got a problem with that because, first of all, the story is made up. It is not an actual happening. It is a parable. It is a story created to illuminate a greater truth. Why would Jesus create a story that dogs out his own servants to celebrate one that don't really worship him? Why? Come closer. Why would Jesus create and make up a story to illustrate a truth that is against his own chosen people? That's not the way of Jesus. That's the way of church people. We're the only ones that dog ourselves to advance. You know, I've heard a lot of people talk about what's wrong with their church in public, on social media, in circles with the church members. But I ain't heard nobody talk about what's wrong with the Deltas, the Qs, sororities and fraternities. We're in love. But when it comes to the church, we're quick to damn it. I know, just holler ouch. We're quick to jump on the bandwagon to tear down the very thing that's building us up. Because we're just expressing ourselves. We're just sharing our feelings and our opinions about the thing that is designed to elevate us. And we kill it. And each other. Because we, the bad people, our worldly friends are the good people. The saints are the heathens. And the worldly friends are the trustworthy ones. And we're quick to celebrate the ones who don't love our God and condemn the ones who are trying. Will you please tap your potential neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't have it all together. I don't have Genesis to Revelation, but I'm working on it. I fall short, but I'm trying. I'm seeking God. I'm showing up. I'm doing the work. Don't dog me because I fall short. I gotta go. Don't tear me down because I missed it. As if says that's not the way he operates. That's not his way. So let's examine this created story from another angle. And I'm out of your way. Let's look at this. There's a priest. There's a priest, and the text says the priest comes by chance down a certain way. A certain priest comes by chance. Not supposed to be in that way. He's traveling away by mistake. He came the wrong way. And luckily, he says, luckily, from the perspective of the injured, the priest, watch this, is supposed to help me. It's your job to help me. It's assumed that you ain't got nothing else to do as a priest but help me. So when I call, you better answer your phone. When I make an appointment, you better avail yourself because this is your job. But I sat and talked with the priest. And the priest said, he assumed that I was supposed to stop whatever I was doing because I was priest to more than him. I'm a priest to more than him. I'm a pastor to more than one. But he assumed that I was just supposed to stop and fix it. He said, I said, well, why you didn't help him? He said, well, I didn't help him because I was off the clock. He said, I'm tired. And I was on my way, going the wrong way. I was already frustrated I was going the wrong way. And when I saw him in trouble, I didn't see so much trouble that it doesn't traumatize me anymore. Nobody want to talk on behalf of the priest. It's not my emergency. So I said, well, Lord, send him somebody. And I passed over. I did the same thing the angel did in Egypt. I did the Passover. I just passed over. Now, I passed over and I'm still a priest. I passed over and I'm still anointed. Let me. I might have a few pastors that'll smile at this. I can't fix everybody's issue. I used to try. And I would have killed myself helping people who wouldn't help themselves. I preached 2 hours. And by Wednesday, they had a question that was answered by the sermon I preached for 2 hours. But they don't hear. So the priest said, I didn't mean him no harm. I love people and I love God, but I didn't make that my emergency. You got to be healed by leaders who didn't make you their emergency. You got to be healed over that. You got to get over that, because there are many people and many things that you walk by and didn't make it. There are people in your family that's in trouble right now, and that ain't your, because you've been there for them already. Don't nobody want to talk because you just want to dog the preachers. You've been there for them already. You've already helped them. You've shown them the way. So the priest didn't even come to the man. He saw him from afar and went around and said, bless him, Lord. He did his priestly duty. Then came a Levite. Now, the Levite is the assistant to the priest. The Levite is supposed to cover the serving responsibilities in the tabernacle or in the temple. The Levite is supposed to open the doors of the church and make sure the church is comfortable. The Levite is supposed to sing and play instruments. The Levite is supposed to serve and make sure you got an envelope. The Levite is supposed to make sure your cars are safe in the parking lot. The Levites came by a Levite. And the text says, at that place, at that place, when he was at the place, the Levite came over to the man and observed his situation. He did more than the priest. He comes over and he looks at him and he probably says, everything is going to be all right. You're going to make it. Maybe he sang him a song. Ain't no need of worrying what the night is going to bring. It'll be all over in the morning. But that's not good enough. Isn't it frustrating when you give people what you can and they're never satisfied? Y'all don't want to hear this text preached. I didn't give you what you wanted, but I gave you all I could. And you dogging me out when I didn't have to give you but nothing. The Levite says, I'm not getting involved. He said, I've been assisting people, been serving, been cleaning, been singing, been playing. He said, I just didn't want to get involved. It's not about commonality, but it's about compassion. He says, it's not about you knowing me or fully understanding my situation, but if you're going to be my neighbor, your heart got to reach. And the issue is, your heart don't reach out to every issue. There are people you drive by and they on the side of the freeway and your heart don't go nowhere. You don't even pray. You just be like looking straight. Don't even come to my window. Do not. And you say full of the whole. I mean, you talking every tongue. But your heart does not go out. What does that mean? Maybe I'm not your neighbor today. There's a time in your salvific encounter where you are something called zealous. And when you are zealous, you want to save everybody. I'm gone. You want to get everybody right. You want to evangelize everybody. You spending all your money. You done divided $100 into fives, And every time you see somebody on the side of the road, you slipping a $5 bill out. And you're doing everything you can do because you literally believe that you are the agent of salvation. And then you learn that every issue is not my assignment. I'm preaching and I'm closing. I'm trying to close it now. You're coming to a state of wisdom where you understand some pain is not my assignment to heal. That God is bigger than me. Now, I'm not fighting God to not help you. I am just not moved to fix your situation. Am I bad? The priest was not against the hurting man. He was just not moved. There was nothing in him that says assignment. So he was clear to pass over. The Levite gets no unction to help him. Is he bad? Don't we fire him? Don't we sit him down for a year? Don't we remove him from his service? Because if he's not doing it for everybody, he ought not do it for nobody. Isn't that the fairness doctrine? He says, I'm sorry to bore you today. He says, that's not my assignment. If I felt the pull, I'd obey it. I'm not mad at you. I'm not angry at you. I don't not like you. You're just not my assignment. Some of y'all would live a more peaceful life if you stop making everybody your assignment. I had to fight for them today because we've dogged them out. Preachers get it the hardest. You're in a nice facility. You got a budget, but you taking all the money. How in the hockey sticks am I taking all the money and the air is on? And the lights are on? And the phone rings? And Wi-Fi works? It smells good. You see vacuum lines in the carpet. Somebody cleaning. There's a chair for you to sit in. Those chairs are about $89 a piece. There's a sound system. Hello, hello. There are world-class musicians over here. I mean, top notch. Their names are known, and they come in sitting in here on Sunday. 4 or 5 organists in the church. Drummers everywhere. We got Wawa. Welcome, dude. Good to see you. The Levite says, I pass on this one. I don't feel assigned. I'm talking to somebody who sees a need that you don't feel an assignment to. You're not the only one. You're not the only one anointed to help people. You're not, if you bypass them, somebody else will help. Samaritan comes. Now, the Samaritan has an issue because this is a Jew. And Samaritans and Jews are born of Israel, but they disagree on where to worship. The mountains are different. So they're divided, and because of this division, they despise. What is the little differentiation that makes you despise? So the Samaritan, by his nature, should have had nothing to do with the Jew. But the Samaritan goes over to him, and he takes care. Now, is he better than the priest? Is he better than the Levite? No, I want you to look from the perspective of the hurt person. Is the Samaritan more critical to you in life than the priest? Is he better? Is he better than the Levite? He's just assigned to this. Now, I'm going to the house. I guess I can't find a holler yet. Why is the Samaritan assigned and the priest not? Because the priests don't have a problem. The Levite don't have a problem. The Samaritan has the problem. So maybe God is about problem solving and not just meeting your need. Maybe God is allowing your need to exist so he can solve a couple of other problems too. Maybe God allowed your problem so that he could solve another one. The Samaritan comes, and the first thing he has to think is history. I'm a Samaritan, he's a Jew. This is my chance to prove to him that my God is greater than his, because I'm well and he's hurting. It's the way the saints would treat. It says, he binds them up, he pours oil, not going to get into that, and wine in the wound. I'm not going to get into that. He pours oil and wine in the wound. He pours oil and wine in the wound. And then he picks him up. He puts him on his beast, carries him to the Days Inn. Carries him to the hotel, and he stops by the front office and he says, give me a room for my buddy here. He pays for the room. He takes the buddy to the room. He lays him in the bed. He stops back by the front office and he says, listen, take care of him for me. Now, my problem is the one that is helping him is passing him off. The Samaritan turned him over to the hotel keeper. The man in the inn had to watch him. And he said, when I come back by tomorrow, that means the Samaritan had something else to do too. Tell them, everybody busy. Be glad anybody is helping you. You don't deserve nobody's help. ask me why? Because you knew that road was dangerous in the beginning. That road had a reputation. That's a trouble road. You know not to be in certain parts of Atlanta after 9 o'clock. What you doing walking down that alley over there? And you get in trouble and get mad when won't nobody stop and help you. Look where you are. What you doing over there? I'm closing. It says, I'm going to come back by tomorrow. If I owe you any more, I'll pay you then. The innkeeper has to trust that this dude is going to do what he said. Now, when it comes to neighbor, and I'm going to the house, neighbor is not about proximity, but predicament. In order to be my neighbor, I must first have to have a need. I got to have an issue. I got to need help. That's when I'm introduced to the arena of neighbor. Outside of a great need, you're an associate, a friend, or a relative. But in my time of trouble, a neighbor will first have to recognize my need. Secondly, I'm going, it's not about, oh God, it's not about, there's got to be a commanding need. It's not about the situation. It's not about commonality. It's about compassion. The neighbor is not the one I know. The neighbor is the one who cares. The neighbor is not about who I owe or who owes me. It's about who in this moment has their heart reaching out for me. And the ones who do not does not mean I cut them off. Oh, you saw me in need, you wouldn't even help me. First of all, I didn't have the resources to help you. I wanted to help but couldn't. And rather than starting something I couldn't finish, I just believed God to send somebody who could. Oh, shucks. So you mad because you think they have the capacity to pay your car note. So that's the reason you asked them for your car note again. Because if he did it before, so when they tell you no, then you're mad because they have the capacity but won't release it to you. When in reality, everybody that look like they got it don't have it all the time. And just because I had it last time does not mean I have it. I've looked at my life sometimes, I'm like, Lord, I was doing good in that season. Boy, I was doing it. But now, I'm holding nickels in my right hand. Tight. Now, I still look as good as I did in the previous season. I'm just not in the same state. I drive the same car. I wear the same suits. I got the same shoes. I got the same everything because it came in a season. But people that don't have don't recognize that people don't have either, because all they have is in what they have. You're in an apartment at $600 a month. I'm in a house at $3,000 a month. Guess how much I have versus what you have? And no, that's not my mortgage. I was preaching one time and said something about being rich. I got a call 2 days later from my mortgage company. The man called me on the phone and he said, "Is this Jerron Williams?" I said, "Yes." He said, "This so-and-so, I work for your mortgage company." I said, "How can I help you?" He said, "Why you don't just pay off your mortgage?" I said, "What you mean, why I don't just pay off your mortgage?" He said, "I was online watching you the other day, and you said you was rich, so why you don't just pay off your mortgage?" It took the Holy Ghost to help me to hang the phone up before I said anything else. The Samaritan. It's not about responsibility. It's about resource. It's not about who is supposed to, but who is able to. I want you to get this so you can stop being mad at each other so much. It's not about who is in position to. It is about who is postured to. Everybody can't help you. And sometimes the ones that are sent to help you, you reject because you expect it from this one. But God didn't condemn the priests. Neither did Jesus condemn the Levite. What he really said, and I'm done. You can play softly. I'm done. I'm going to go to dinner in this same shirt. What he really said to the man when he says, "Now go and do likewise," he's not saying help everybody in trouble. That's not the moral of the text. The moral of the text is when compassion comes out of you, when you see a need and you have the resources, be a neighbor.